My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 28. Last Christmas morning at 9:47 a.m., I was sitting on a folding chair in the corner of my own apartment while my mother handed wrapped gifts to everyone in my family except me. My sister Haley got a Coach purse, my uncle Todd got a new leather jacket, my aunt got earrings, even my cousin's boyfriend got a gift card. Mom worked her way around the living room, my living room with my name on the lease, handing out boxes with bows while I sat there on that metal folding chair because all four chairs at my dining table were occupied. "Oh, Sophia, you understand," my mother said when she finally looked at me, holding her empty hands up like she'd just run out of miracles. "You're the one with the steady job. You don't need things like everyone else does." My face burned. I could feel every person in that room not looking at me. "Mom, I worked a double shift on Christmas Eve," I said quietly. "I bought the ham. I paid for, and we're so grateful." She smiled at me the way you'd smile at a child who wants credit for breathing. "You're always so generous with your little contributions." Little contributions. I'd paid $1,200 in rent that month, plus $150 for utilities, plus $340 for the groceries currently being eaten in my kitchen, plus the $89 I'd spent on gifts for everyone in this room who'd just watched my mother give me nothing. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 12 years to when I was 16. My grandmother Evelyn used to make blackberry cobbler every Sunday after church. Her kitchen smelled like butter and cinnamon, and something I later realized was just safety. I'd sit at her yellow formica counter doing homework while she worked, and she'd slide a warm bowl toward me without asking if I wanted it. "Your mama loves you, baby girl," she told me one Sunday when I'd shown up with a bruise on my arm from where Mom had grabbed me too hard during an argument about my paycheck. "She just don't know how to show it without taking something first." I was 16 and working part-time at a coffee shop on Main Street. Every paycheck, $340 every 2 weeks, went straight to my mother's hand. "For groceries," she'd say. "For keeping the lights on. For this family." I gave her everything. I believed I was helping. "One day," my grandmother said, pressing her warm hand over mine, "you're gonna have to choose between being good and being whole. And baby girl, I need you to promise me you'll choose whole." I promised. I didn't understand what it meant yet. That was the last cobbler she made before her first stroke. The first betrayal happened 3 weeks after Christmas, on January 14th at 2:33 p.m. I was at the hospital finishing my shift. I'm a registered nurse now, working 12-hour night shifts at Mercy Regional, when my phone started blowing up. Text after text from cousins, aunts, people I hadn't heard from in months. "I can't believe you do that to your own mother. After everything she sacrificed for you. You should be ashamed." I stood in the break room staring at my phone, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I called my mother. "What's happening?" I asked. "What did you tell people?" "I didn't tell them anything they didn't need to know," she said, and her voice had that sharp edge that meant she was smiling. "I simply explained that you've decided to stop helping the family, that you told me I'm on my own now." I never said." "You stopped paying the rent, Sophia. What else would you call it?" My stomach dropped. "That's not what happened. I asked you to start contributing. I asked you to pay something toward the apartment you've been living in for 4 years. See, that's exactly what I mean. You're punishing me for being a single mother who did her best." "Mom, the lease is in my name. I pay $1,200 every month. You and Haley and Uncle Todd live there rent-free. I just asked—" "You asked me to prove I'm not good enough," she said. "And now everyone knows what kind of daughter you really are." She hung up. I sat on the break room floor for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the wall tick forward while my shift supervisor knocked on the door asking if I was okay. I wasn't okay. By the time I got home that night at 8:14 a.m., My cousin had left a voicemail saying I wasn't welcome at the family reunion in March. My aunt had unfriended me on Facebook. Someone had posted in the family group chat, Sophia always thought she was better than us. I pulled up my bank statements on my laptop, 4 years of records, 48 months of transfers, $1,200 rent, every month, on time, $150 utilities, every month, random transfers, $200 here, $340 there, $125 for an emergency that was never explained. I added it up 3 times because I didn't believe the number, $57,600. $57,600 I'd paid to keep my mother, my sister, and my uncle housed in an apartment where I didn't even have a real chair to sit on. I worked doubles. I picked up extra shifts on holidays. I skipped meals to make sure the account had enough to cover rent. I had $840 in savings, total, after 4 years of nursing, and my mother told everyone I'd abandoned her. I kept working. That's what you do when you're a night shift nurse. You keep working because people need medications at 2 a.m. and wound dressings at 4 a.m., and someone to hold their hand when they're scared at 6 a.m. I worked at a coffee shop at 16, handing over every check. I got my RN license at 23 after 2 years of nursing school I paid for with loans I'm still paying off. I worked my way up from part-time barista to full-time nurse, and the whole time I believed I was doing the right thing. I believed helping your family was supposed to feel like drowning. My manager at the hospital, Patricia, was the first person who noticed something was wrong. She found me crying in the supply closet on January 29th at 3:18 a.m., and instead of pretending she hadn't seen it, she sat down on the floor next to me. "You want to talk about it, or you want to organize gauze in silence?" she asked. I laughed. It came out like a sob. "My family thinks I'm a terrible person," I said. "Are you?" "I don't think so. I asked my mom to help pay rent on the apartment she lives in. That I pay for." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "How long has she lived there?" 4 years. Rent-free? Her and my sister and my uncle. And when you asked her to contribute, she told everyone you abandoned her? I nodded. Patricia stood up and offered me her hand. "Honey, you're not the terrible person in this story." But it didn't matter what Patricia thought. My family had made their decision. The public humiliation happened on February 3rd at 11:52 a.m. in the Mercy Regional Hospital main lobby. I was coming off a night shift, still in my scrubs, so exhausted I could barely see straight. I'd worked 16 hours because someone called in sick and we were understaffed. My feet ached, my back ached. I wanted to go home and sleep for 12 hours. Then I saw my mother standing by the information desk. She was dressed in her church clothes, the navy dress she wore when she wanted to look respectable, and she was crying, actually crying, with tears running down her face, talking to 2 women I didn't recognize. "She's my daughter," my mother was saying, loud enough that people in the waiting area turned to look. "I raised her by myself. I sacrificed everything, and now she won't even return my calls." I stopped walking. One of the women saw me and touched my mother's arm, nodding in my direction. My mother turned, her face crumpled. "Sophia," she said, and her voice broke on my name like I'd personally shattered it. "Please, we need to talk." I was aware of everyone watching: a man in a wheelchair, a family with a little kid, the security guard by the door, the volunteer at the desk, Patricia standing 20 feet away near the elevators, her hand frozen on the call button. "Mom, I'm just getting off work. You've been avoiding me for 3 weeks." She pressed a tissue to her eyes. "3 weeks, Sophia, your own mother." "I haven't been avoiding you. I've been working. You're punishing me because I can't afford to pay rent right now, because I'm struggling, because I'm not perfect like you." Something clicked in my chest. Something cold and final. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself. I just said very calmly, "The lease is in my name, Mom. I've paid every month for 4 years. I have the bank statements." "I contribute in other ways," she said quickly. "I clean. I cook. I hold this family together. You told Aunt Marie I abandoned you. I told her the truth, that you're making me choose between keeping a roof over my head and keeping my dignity. I asked you to pay $300 a month. That's it. Her face changed. The tears stopped like someone had flipped a switch. Be grateful you can sit here in your scrubs and judge me, she said, and her voice was ice now. Not everyone had the chances you had. The chances I had. I'd worked full-time through nursing school. I'd studied between double shifts. I'd eaten ramen for dinner 6 nights a week to afford textbooks. I'd given her every paycheck from age 16 to 18, and most of my paychecks after that. I looked at the two women standing with her. I looked at the security guard. I looked at Patricia. Then I looked back at my mother and said, I hope you find somewhere else to live by the end of the month. I walked away. I heard her behind me. You see? You see what I'm dealing with? But I didn't turn around. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what my grandmother would say if she could see this. She'd had 3 strokes in the past 5 years. The last one left her mostly bedridden, living in a nursing facility 2 hours away. I hadn't visited her in months because I was always working, always covering someone's shift, always sending money to my mother for emergencies. I got out of bed at 2:47 a.m. and started looking through old boxes in my closet. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe proof that I hadn't imagined a version of my family that actually loved me. I found a shoebox labeled Grandma's Stuff in my handwriting from 3 years ago. Inside, birthday cards she'd sent me, a recipe for blackberry cobbler written in her shaky cursive, a photograph of the two of us at my nursing school graduation. She'd insisted on coming even though it meant a 2-hour drive in a wheelchair. And underneath everything, a sealed envelope. No writing on the outside, just thick cream-colored paper, the kind you use for important things. My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside was a letter, handwritten, and a key taped to the bottom of the page. I didn't read the letter that night. I was too afraid of what it might say. I put it back in the box and shoved the box back in the closet and went to work. But I thought about it every day. My mother called me 16 times over the next week. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that started with, I don't know what I did wrong, and ended with, you're breaking my heart. Then, on February 18th at 7:04 p.m., she showed up at the hospital again. This time she brought my Uncle Todd. They cornered me in the parking lot as I was getting into my car after a shift. Todd stepped in front of my driver's side door so I couldn't open it. We need to talk, he said. I have to get home. You need to stop this nonsense, my mother said from behind me. You're tearing this family apart over money. I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm asking you to pay for the place you live. We're offering you a deal, Todd said, crossing his arms. You sign the apartment over to your mother. You move out. Everyone's happy. I stared at him. You want me to give her my apartment? It's the right thing to do, my mother said. I've been living there for 4 years. It's my home now. I pay the rent. And we'll take over the payments, Todd said, which was a lie so blatant I almost laughed. You don't have jobs, I said. We'll figure it out. But you need to sign the lease over. Today. No. My mother's face went hard. Then you're evicting your own mother. That's what you want everyone to know? That you put me on the street? You can stay if you pay rent. I don't have it. Then you need to leave by March 1st. Todd stepped closer. He was 6 feet tall and used to getting his way by being the biggest person in the room. You'll regret this, he said quietly. Maybe, I said, but I'll regret it in an apartment I actually pay for. I got in my car and locked the doors before he could say anything else. I drove home shaking so hard I had to pull over twice. When I got home at 8:39 p.m., there was a message on my voicemail from a law office. Ms. Bennett, this is Richard Chen from Chen & Associates. I'm the executor of your grandmother Evelyn Carter's estate. I know this may seem unusual, but your grandmother left specific instructions to contact you at this time. Could you please call me back at your earliest convenience? This is regarding some documents she wanted you to have. My grandmother wasn't dead. I called the number back immediately, my heart pounding. Mr. Chen? This is Sophia Bennett. I just got your message. My grandmother, is she okay? Oh, she's fine, he said, and I could hear him smiling. Well, as fine as someone can be at 93, but she's very much alive, and very insistent that I speak with you. She's been asking me to reach out for the past 2 weeks, but she wanted me to wait for the right time. The right time for what? That's something I think we should discuss in person. Are you available tomorrow? I had the day off. Yes. Excellent. My office is at 447 Northwest 23rd Avenue. Does 2 p.m. work? I'll be there. I called my grandmother's nursing facility immediately after. The night nurse said she was asleep but doing well. She's been asking about you, honey. Says she has something important to tell you. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the envelope in my closet, the one I hadn't read. At 6:14 a.m., I finally took it out and opened it on my kitchen floor. The letter was dated 3 years ago, right after my nursing school graduation. Dear Sophia, if you're reading this, then something has happened that forced you to finally look for answers. I'm proud of you for looking. I know your mother, and I know what she does to people who love her. She takes and takes until there's nothing left, and then she convinces you that you're selfish for having nothing left to give. Do you remember what I told you when you were 16, about choosing to be whole instead of good? I knew even then that she would do this to you. I knew she'd take every dollar you earned and every ounce of energy you had, and then she'd tell you it wasn't enough. I've been keeping records, baby girl. Every time you told me about a paycheck you gave her, every time you mentioned paying rent or buying groceries or covering an emergency, I wrote it down. I kept copies of things your mother doesn't know I have. The key taped to this letter opens a safe deposit box at First National Bank, box number 847. Inside that box, you'll find copies of 4 years of bank statements showing your rent payments, a notarized letter from your former landlord confirming the lease was always in your name only, receipts and records I collected from you over the years, a recording I made of your mother admitting she never contributed to the apartment, and something else, something I've been saving for you since you were born. Richard Chen has the original documents. He's been my attorney for 40 years and he knows everything. Trust him. You are not selfish. You are not ungrateful. You are not a bad daughter. You are the girl who gave every paycheck to her mother at 16. You are the woman who worked doubles to keep a roof over people who didn't even give you a real chair to sit on. You are whole, baby girl. You always have been. Your mother can't see it because she spent so long convincing herself that love is the same thing as debt. But I see you. I've always seen you. All my love, Grandma. P.S. I still owe you that last cobbler I promised. When this is over, make it yourself and think of me. I read it 5 times. Then I sat on my kitchen floor and cried until my shift supervisor called to make sure I was okay for my next shift. I called Mr. Chen back at 9:03 a.m. I read the letter, I said. Good. Then you know what we need to do. I'll see you at 2 p.m. I went to the bank first. Box 847. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a manila folder 2 inches thick, bank statements, receipts, a notarized letter, and a small digital recorder with a yellow sticky note that said, "Press play." I pressed play. My grandmother's voice, shaky but clear. Karen, I need you to be honest with me. Does Sophia know how much she's paid for that apartment over the years? My mother's voice. She knows she helps out. How much, Karen? A long pause. Then, I don't keep track of every little thing, Mom. I do. She's paid over $50,000 in 4 years. For an apartment you told the family you were managing on your own. I never said, you told Marie you were doing this all by yourself. You told everyone Sophia was just contributing a little here and there. Another pause. Then my mother's voice, cold and clear. What Sophia doesn't know won't hurt her. She has a good job. She can afford it. I can't. So you're lying to the family about who's actually paying for everything? I'm protecting my dignity, Mom. You wouldn't understand. I stopped the recording. I sat in that bank vault for 22 minutes, just breathing. At 2 p.m., I walked into Richard Chen's office on Northwest 23rd Avenue. He was a small man in his 70s, with kind eyes and a handshake that felt like a promise. "Your grandmother is a remarkable woman," he said, gesturing for me to sit. "She started planning this 3 years ago, the moment you told her your mother had moved into your apartment." "Planning what?" He slid a folder across the desk. "Your protection. Your grandmother knew your mother would eventually push you too far. She knew there would come a day when you'd need proof that you weren't the villain in this story." Inside the folder, legal documents, notarized statements, a letter from my old landlord confirming I'd been the sole leaseholder for 4 years, receipts I didn't even remember saving, and a cashier's check for $15,000. "What is this?" I asked, holding up the check. "Your grandmother has been saving money for you since you were born. Small amounts, mostly. She was a secretary for 40 years, and she put aside $50 a month in an account with your name on it. When she learned what your mother was doing, she added to it. This is what remains after I paid for the legal work she requested." "Legal work?" "She wanted me to prepare a case if necessary. Documentation proving your mother's fraud, witness statements, evidence of financial abuse. Everything you'd need if your mother tried to claim you owed her something or that the apartment was hers." I stared at the papers. "I don't understand. Why didn't she just tell me?" "She tried, but you weren't ready to hear it yet. She said you needed to come to the truth on your own, or you'd never believe it. And she was right, wasn't she?" I thought about all the times my grandmother had gently asked about my mother, all the times she'd suggested I keep better records or make sure everything is in writing, all the times I'd brushed her off because I thought she was just being paranoid. She wasn't paranoid. She was preparing. "There's one more thing," Mr. Chen said. "Your grandmother would like to see you. She asked me to tell you that when you're ready." I drove to the nursing facility that same day. I arrived at 5:47 p.m., and my grandmother was sitting up in bed, looking frailer than I remembered, but with the same sharp eyes. "There's my girl," she said when I walked in. I sat in the chair next to her bed and took her hand. It was so small, so thin, like bird bones wrapped in paper. "You knew," I said, "the whole time. I raised your mother, baby. I knew exactly what she'd do." "Why didn't you stop her?" "Because you had to learn to stop her yourself. I couldn't fight this battle for you. I could only make sure you had the weapons you needed when you were ready to fight." I started crying again. She squeezed my hand. "Now listen to me," she said, and her voice was stronger than I'd heard it in years. "Your mother is going to come at you hard when she finds out you're not backing down. She's going to bring the whole family. She's going to cry and scream and make you feel like you're the monster. Are you ready for that?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do. You've been ready since you were 16 years old, handing over every paycheck and believing it would be enough. You're done now. You're whole now. The rest is just paperwork." She was right. The confrontation happened on February 23rd at 7:18 p.m. at my apartment doorway. I'd sent my mother a certified letter on February 20th. Formal eviction notice. 30 days to vacate. Copies to my uncle and my sister. I thought she'd call. I thought she'd leave voicemails. Instead, she showed up at my door with Todd, Haley, my Aunt Marie, and my cousin Jessica. I heard them coming from the hallway. Footsteps, voices. My mother's voice rising above the others. "She can't do this. She can't just throw us out." There was pounding on my door. "Sophia!" My mother's voice, sharp and angry. "Open this door right now." I looked through the peephole. All 5 of them, crowded in the hallway. My mother's face was red. Todd had his arms crossed. Haley was crying. I opened the door 6 inches, keeping the chain lock on. "Yes?" I said calmly. You can't evict us, my mother said. This is our home. It's my apartment, my lease, my name only. We've lived here for 4 years, rent-free for 4 years. I contributed. My mother's voice was getting louder. People in other apartments were probably listening. I cleaned, I cooked, I held this family together while you were off playing nurse. Playing nurse. Like saving lives was a hobby. I have something to show you, I said. I closed the door, took off the chain, and opened it fully. They all pushed forward, but I stood in the doorway holding a manila folder. These are bank statements, I said. 48 months. Every rent payment I made, every utility bill, every grocery run. Want to know the total? My mother's face changed, just slightly. A flicker of fear. I don't need to see. $57,600. I opened the folder and showed them the highlighted totals. That's what I paid over 4 years. For an apartment you told the family you were handling on your own. I never said. You told Aunt Marie you were doing this all by yourself as a single mother. You told Uncle Todd that I just helped out a little here and there. I pulled out the recorder. This is Grandma Evelyn's voice, recorded 3 years ago. Want to hear it? I pressed play. My grandmother's voice filled the hallway. Does Sophia know how much she's paid for that apartment over the years? My mother's voice. She knows she helps out. How much, Karen? I don't keep track of every little thing, Mom. I do. She's paid over $50,000 in 4 years for an apartment you told the family you were managing on your own. I stopped the recording. The hallway was silent. My Aunt Marie's face had gone white. Karen, is that true? It's taken out of context. It's recorded evidence, I said. There's more. Want to hear the part where Mom says, what Sophia doesn't know won't hurt her? My sister Haley was staring at our mother like she'd never seen her before. You told me Sophia was only paying a little bit. You said you had it covered. I was protecting this family. From what? I asked. From the truth? Todd stepped forward. You can't just kick us out. We have rights. Actually, I can. You're not on the lease. You've never paid rent. And I have a lawyer who confirmed that I can give you 30 days' notice, which I did. You'd make your own mother homeless? My mother's voice cracked. She pressed a hand to her chest, real tears now. After everything I sacrificed for you? This was it. The moment she'd always used to make me fold. But I didn't fold. You sacrificed nothing, I said quietly. I sacrificed. I worked doubles. I skipped meals. I gave you every paycheck from the time I was 16. I paid for an apartment where I didn't even have a chair to sit on because all 4 dining chairs were taken by the family I was supporting. Sophia, do you know what I have in savings, Mom? After 4 years of working as an RN, $840. Because every extra shift I picked up, every holiday I worked, every dollar I made went to keeping you comfortable. My Aunt Marie took a step back. Karen, you told me you were barely surviving. You said Sophia was selfish. She is selfish, my mother said, but her voice was weaker now. I have the lease, I said. I have the bank statements. I have the notarized letter from the landlord. I have Grandma's recording. I have 4 years of receipts. What do you have? Silence. Then my phone rang. I looked at the screen. It was a video call from my grandmother. I answered it and turned the phone so the camera faced the hallway. My grandmother's face appeared on the screen, and even through the phone, her voice was clear and strong. Hello, Karen, she said. My mother's face drained of color. Mom, I can see you all on Sophia's doorstep. How nice. A family reunion. This isn't... We were just... Be quiet. My grandmother's voice was ice. I raised you better than this, Karen. I raised you to be honest, to be kind, to take care of people instead of taking from them. I did take care of... You took $57,600 from your daughter and told everyone she was the selfish one. You lived in her apartment rent-free and made her sit on a folding chair at Christmas. You gave everyone gifts except the person who made those gifts possible. My Aunt Marie made a small sound. My cousin Jessica was staring at her phone like she was taking notes. Sophia has been funding your entire life for 4 years, my grandmother continued. She worked night shifts at a hospital saving lives while you slept in her apartment and told the family she was abandoning you, and when she finally asked you to contribute even $300 a month, you tried to shame her into signing the apartment over to you. That's not. I have the recording, Karen. I have all of it. Every lie you told, every dollar you stole, every time you made that girl feel guilty for having boundaries. My mother was crying now, but they weren't the pretty tears she'd used in the hospital lobby. These were desperate, ugly tears. I'm your daughter, she said to the phone. How can you side with her over me? Because she's telling the truth, my grandmother said. And you're still lying. My mother turned to me. Her mascara was running. Please, Sophia. We have nowhere to go. You have 30 days, I said. That's more than you gave me. You never even asked if I could afford it. You just took. But I closed the door. I heard my mother's voice in the hallway rising. This isn't over. You can't just. But her voice got quieter as they walked away. I locked the door and sat on my couch, in my apartment, that I paid for, and I didn't feel victorious. I felt exhausted. My grandmother was still on the phone. You did good, baby girl, she said. I don't feel good. You're not supposed to. Doing the right thing doesn't always feel good, but it feels true, and that's what matters. Over the next 3 weeks, things happened quickly. My mother, uncle, and sister moved out on March 15th. They didn't say goodbye. My Aunt Marie called me on March 18th to apologize. I believed her, she said. I'm so sorry. I should have asked you. My cousin Jessica posted in the family group chat, I think we all owe Sophia an apology. Some people apologized, some people didn't. That was okay. I called the nursing facility every day to check on my grandmother. She was doing better, laughing more. I can rest now, she told me, knowing you're okay. I used the $15,000 she'd saved for me to pay off my credit cards and build a real emergency fund. For the first time in my adult life, I had money in savings that wasn't earmarked for someone else's crisis. I bought 4 new chairs for my dining table, real ones, with cushions. I visited my grandmother on April 2nd. I brought a container of blackberry cobbler I'd made using her recipe. It wasn't perfect, the crust was a little too thick, and I'd added too much sugar, but it was mine. It's perfect, she said, taking a bite. Just like you. She died peacefully in her sleep on April 29th. The nurses said she went quietly, no pain, just slipped away between one breath and the next. At her funeral on May 4th, my mother showed up wearing black and crying theatrically. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry for everything. Maybe she meant it, maybe she didn't. I said, thank you for coming, and walked away. I didn't need her apology anymore. I'd already forgiven myself for believing her lies for so long. 6 months later, I'm still in the same apartment. I work the same night shifts. I still pick up doubles when we're short-staffed. But I also take days off now. I go to movies. I buy books. I eat dinner that isn't ramen. I have a cat named Evelyn. She's gray with white paws, and she sleeps on my bed every night in the spot where I used to keep my work bag. I framed my grandmother's letter and hung it in my bedroom where I can see it every morning. You are whole, baby girl. You always have been. If you're watching this, and you've ever been the person everyone takes from until there's nothing left, type, I chose whole, in the comments. Or if you're still learning how to choose yourself, type, I'm learning. Both are brave. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.